What's going on, guys, and welcome back, or shall I say good evening. This is the earliest we've posted. It's a Sunday, not a Monday, due to circumstances. We've got a Snapchat a little bit early for you, and Alex and I are going to break down the newest card coming, Peni, Parker, and Spider. She's going to help you get energy with a new merge mechanic, and Alex and I are going to break down the synergies and what she will bring to Marvel Snap. On top of that, she's a ramp card. We're going to look at all the ramp cards and how they age and what they look like in the game currently. And our most enjoyable and fun cards to play. There's a lot to break down, a lot of fun to be had, some weird topics that we talked about in this episode. And we talked about that all today or tonight, I guess, on this episode of the Snapchat. What's up, guys? Sorry the pause in the video, but today's video is sponsored and brought to you by Kabam and Marvel Contest of Champions. Marvel Contest of Champions is celebrating its 10-year anniversary in the most generous way ever for 10 days straight from December 10th to the 19th. You'll get 10 free champions, one every day, just by logging in. That's 10 for 10. From Spider-Man to Day 1 to fan favorites like Gambit or even Iron Man or the new character Isophene. These characters can be based on a progression system, whether you're brand new to the game or an established veteran. Now, speaking of Isophene, this mystic powerhouse is the living embodiment of the battle realm itself. She'll be bringing alongside her a brand new Fracture Power Bar gameplay mechanic, so don't miss her release on December 19th. Now, on top of all this, Marvel Contest of Champions just got a massive update. Smoother 60 FPS gameplay. Marvel Contest of Champions has never looked better, as the 60 FPS is in the game right now. The summoner level cap has been increased to 70, and new mastery loadout pages for the ultimate customization. And if all of that wasn't enough, they're also giving away an absolute huge promo code that you can claim on December 24th. It's going to be based on your progression level, so be sure to log in for that. So what are you guys waiting for? Download Marvel Contest of Champions down in the description below. Claim your 10 free heroes, and while you're down there, you'll see my promo code and right here on screen. Another big thank you to the team for sponsoring today's video, and let's get to the content. And as always, coming a little bit early this week, I am joined by Mr. Alex Coccia. What's going on, man? Hello, buddy. We are not well into the season. We're in week 2 into the Marvel Rivals and Marvel Snap collab. Rivals has officially launched, and Snap is going into its new card this week. How we doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. And I got to say, I did something really stressful this week. Super stressful. And you encouraged me to do it. So I've been experiencing tons of crashes playing Marvel Rivals. And there must be people out there that would appreciate this and the stress that's like incurred by this. I reformatted my computer. And I've not done it in like years since I built the PC.
The fresh install.
I'm like the kind of person, dude, man, listen, when you know how it is with like OBS and like your audio software and all your video stuff, you have it all set up and it's like stringed together. And like, it's all like duct taped together. And like, I don't even do updates with like OBS or anything else. I don't do software updates because if I update something and something breaks, it'll all fall apart. My whole system was a house of cards. And so now I literally have this camera app installed, my microphone installed, and Discord installed. So let's go. Calculator
and notes, and that's it, dude. And I love it, man. Yeah, it's I've only done a couple of fresh installs, man. And it's like getting a new machine though. It truly ramps that baby up. I need a fresh install myself. I have never felt more. I've never put in more work in my life into anything than this last week, probably. And it's wild. Like, guys, to paint the picture for you, I mean, I think you guys can see on the Snap channel here. Lack of videos this week, kind of warned you guys about it. But kind of for, just a fun journey I wanted to take. I did a Marvel Rivals channel, and it's a game that I love so much. So I poured my heart into that. And it's going really well, which is awesome. And I'm loving the game. And also, I love Marvel Snap. And so, trying to turn and burn, if you guys have watched the channel, like, kind of behind the scenes that goes into these videos, right? There's, formulating the idea. And then there's, I don't script write, but I do kind of bullet points of what my process is, especially if I'm doing, like, any type of skit or some visual that I want to do. Definitely the visuals and trying to come up with, the production side as a whole piece as well. And then, filming that, editing that, and then putting that all together is a beast. And to do that in a 24-hour flip, and I've done it now day after day, sometimes 2 to 3 videos a day on 2 channels for, going on 2 weeks, man. It's the most wild thing I've ever done, but I love it because it's not that I was getting comfortable with my routine almost, but like this feels super challenging. And my entire life, I love to be challenged. I do. But oh boy, I'm challenged. So I need a fresh install, Alex, because I am on lack of sleep, but enjoying it. Like, it's fun, man. It's fun.
It has been fun, and like again, I've been on a very similar grind, and it's been rejuvenating. Kind of like you're right. You get a little comfortable, and the key thing is you want to push yourself a little bit. In the videos that I've been producing, like I've been taking notes out of your playbook, right? Trying to amp up the production quality, and I joked about this in the past, but like I literally sometimes I'm like, how does Cozy do that thing? And I literally don't know what to Google to figure out like how you do it. And then like even when like the green screening stuff, it's like you have like this incredible process to it. It's just there is a reason why Cozy's videos look, sound, and are as well orchestrated as they are. It's because you've put in the time and effort over years to build those skills. And here's the thing, if you go back to like the first couple versions of like Snap stuff, I remember watching your first Snap videos and thinking like they were incredible. I'm like, how can this guy get any better? But somehow you've managed to get better every single time. You've learned lessons throughout these years, and now you're applying it to your Marvel Rivals channel. So, sir, it does not surprise me that you're finding success there because you absolutely deserve it.
Well, A, thank you. B, if I ever need a good cringe feel of myself, I'll go back to my older videos. They feel good. They definitely, Alex has found some of my old streams where I have a shake weight and I had my viewers buy any infomercial product, and I would buy like 10 of them. Or they would list them and show them, and I bought 10 of them, and I would test them live. And oh yeah, we got the. Did you see the one with the slap chop too with the tuna? Was that one? I think
yes, I did. Yeah, that was a classic one.
Oh,
Listen,
man.
I still I love your old school videos. They're still phenomenal. Despite
dude.
the fact you wear shoes on the beach, it's okay. I'll forgive it.
And dude, like one time. But yeah, man, it's been fun. And you know what's been really cool is to see people from Snap, like card gamers. Listen, guys, especially I know a lot of you guys will feel known by it. If you play card games, it does not mean if you're successful there, you're going to be good at shooters and fast movement games. And that's probably what has turned a lot of people off, either Rivals or just venturing into any other gaming. But I got to say, man, tip of the hat, hands off to you guys. I've seen a lot of Snap people translate over to Rivals, and they're just having a good time and having fun. And I think that's what it does best, man. You know how, like, I think Snap has such a good kind of flavor and vibe to it, what it gives out and the fun nature of it. I think Rivals does that too, and not to get lost in all the crazy competitiveness, which is kind of what today is all about. Snap, there's, a billion things to talk about in different areas, but today I wanted to focus on some like the most enjoyable cards to play because we have a pretty fun one coming out today, Alex. So we got a lot talking about over here. What are we talking about on your side of the Snapchat?
Cozy, on my side of the Snapchat, we're going to be doing our review of both Luna Snow and Galacta, so stay tuned for that. We'll also be discussing the new villains of Snap, because hey, there's a lot of cards out there that are starting to piss people off, and we're going to talk about them. And then finally, as always, our Snapchat mailbag.
Dude, you know what we need to talk about before we get into anything is, I gotta say, right, two games that I know with some of the best art is Snap and Rivals. Their art team, both of their art teams deserve mega raises. However, what happened with the card backs this season? Did you see the Rivals card back and then the one you can earn and it's gold? And I'm like, out of all the things they could have done with the art, I was so surprised. It might be the weakest card back we've ever had.
It might be the worst. There's a couple card backs that stand out to me as being like just painful. Like there's the one that we got really early with like the universe in it, but it has the Marvel Snap logo slapped in the middle of it, which I absolutely wish they would just get rid of. So that one pains me because it has the potential to be absolutely one of the best, but this one here is by far one of the worst. They could have gotten the key art, like they could have just Googled like Marvel Rivals logo and just slapped it on the card. It would have looked better than what we have there, right? So it's like, it is pretty rough. It's unbelievable for a game that has incredible art across the board. Even the one, like, I remember in one of your videos you talked about, like, the Jeff the baby land shark, like, coming out from the, like, it's just so perfect, right? You could have gotten anything, and instead they're like, hey, let's get this. It's kind of bad.
And let's throw on the, and then the alternative art one with, like, some of the heroes on it. I was like, oh, that one's pretty cool. And then have that be gold with the heroes black. Nope. Yeah. But didn't go that direction. But anyway, let's talk about Peni Parker, guys. If you don't know, Peni is a tank, Vanguard in Marvel Rivals. And in Marvel Snap, she's a 2-cost, 3-power card. On reveal, add Spider to your hand. And when this merges, you get +1 energy next turn. So anytime, it's a little unclear, but anytime anything merges into Peni Parker, you will be getting +1 energy the next turn. Spider also gives the rare ability of letting that card move the next turn, correct as well, and which is crazy. We have a card that is our first, I believe, 2-cost that is generating a 3-cost in Snap and is definitely unique. And this might be the hardest card to evaluate this month, potentially. Alex, how you feeling about it?
Still okay. I'm still gonna stick to like my 3-star approach. I still think like 3-star. I think it's gonna be good. It's gonna be fine. It's not gonna be a meta cracker. One you're talking about like comparables. I think that Maria Hill. Sorry, I was gonna say Maria something else. I didn't know I mixed up the names, but Maria Hill does something similar with the 1 into the 2. Right. I think that's the only example we have in Snap,
Yeah.
generally speaking. Obviously, we have the Colston that goes the 4/5s and stuff like that. But I do like what Penny does, and I'm gonna stick at the 3 stars because like I think that like there's so many cards coming out and there's so much competition for card slots and for tokens and for keys. I don't know if this one calls to me. You know what I mean? I just don't think it calls to me. And I mean, the Spotlight Cash certainly doesn't. So
Yeah, I think in the early ratings I said 3.5 to 4. I'm probably gonna I might go with 4. I'm gonna aim a little high. I think it could easily fall down because this one does have a tough one to evaluate. Before we get to the synergies, the reason why I want to give it that is I think if you don't complicate this card, it's good. So I think we're gonna talk about the ramp cards in a second. But being able to merge is something relatively easy, and it could be too narrow, and I think that's kind of the risk behind it. You know, if it's too niche, then maybe not. But we have a couple of merge cards that just kind of work across the board. And having Peni Parker create a card that's a 3 that can also move a card, so you're getting benefit. And then on top of that, so you know you are playing effectively 5 energy, right, for a 6 power card that can move. Not the best considering Vision is that and can move every turn. Like there are some obvious things, but you're getting that 1 energy, and you're going to be able to go every single time into turn 4 with 5 energy, and so being able to make these decks work, I think, is a thing, as long as you don't overcomplicate it. I think there are some specific decks with Penny. Let's talk about the synergies that are going to really, you know, kind of elevate her play. But in a more general sense, I think that's where she's going to shine.
no, she definitely will. And I think you're right. Like, just don't overcomplicate the card. Don't try to dive too deep into it. Like, this is clearly a much more of a support centric card, not a build around card. And to that degree, like we have seen that movement is extremely powerful in the case of like Nocturne and others. Like being able to access locations is very helpful. Getting the ramp part of this is very good too. And it's going to breathe some life into some cards that have not been played in some time, which we're going to talk about momentarily. But yeah, generally speaking, like I do like that evaluation, and especially since you are playing it on curve too, right? Like there is value in that. Like there are times where like you just don't curve properly, and your entire game plan kind of falls apart, and this card's going to prevent that from happening to some degree. So I definitely do think that this has a very decent floor. I just don't see the ceiling like we see in some other cards potentially this month, but it definitely has a very strong floor.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious how it kind of slots its way across decks. I know, you would look at something like Kate Bishop and maybe a card like that, you couldn't see being too good. And obviously it's one of the better cards in the game, if not, at least top 20, especially on play rate. And so I will want to see if Penny can fit that kind of role. And again, very hard to tell right off the bat. What I want to start with, though, if we do want to bring up, specific synergy, is not Luna. We'll talk about her in a second. But Phoenix Force, I think Phoenix Force is super unique here because you have this deck that obviously we've got some merging stuff going on here. But on top of that, we have cards that could be backup options. And Phoenix Force has always been a draw these things in this order and you win. And if you don't, it's a lot harder to win. And I'm curious now with Penny as an addition, and can this be something way more reliable and you kind of have a better floor with Phoenix Force? And then we already know the ceiling is winning, right? Like it's going to win. And I think that she could elevate this deck and kind of earn that star rating alone just through Phoenix Force and some of these merge cards in it.
It's entirely possible because like one thing that Phoenix Force struggles with is if you don't draw into the Phoenix Force, that's a major issue. And also you kind of don't have many backup plans. If like, say early in the game, like I do think that Penny can provide like kind of like an alternate win condition to some degree, like an alternate strategy towards getting towards that end game, right? Because with Phoenix Force, you really only do three things. One, you merge Phoenix Force with Human Torch, move it around, Zola it. Two, you do hit the multiple man, move it around, they retreat. And then three, you usually use the Nimrod line. Right, use the Nimrod Shuri line and generate some value with the the Deathlocks, the Carnages, and the Venoms. So if Penny can come in and create more of a mid-range version of Phoenix Force, it could potentially be very interesting and maybe give it a much more straightforward playstyle.
Well, what's cool about that is you just named a few cards, right? Human Torch, Multiple Man, and Nimrod, and there's more. But let's talk about those guys. All of those with Spider is really cool. Multiple Man gets to move, so you get, one interaction just happening kind of purely with the same energy-ish. You got the 2 into the 3. And then Human Torch is obviously a really big winner, right? You play down, you play that on Torch for just one, and the way that this will naturally curve out is actually really good, and it just works out with the deck. But you got that going into a 1-5, and then all of a sudden you have a 1-10, not doing all that much, right? But then there's Nimrod too, and it's like, okay, you know, Nimrod's the 5, but you are getting that energy if you could pull that off. I need to see how it plays out, but if you're able to move these cards to set it for advance, like for instance, like obviously, like how are you going to get it with the energy to work out, to move a Nimrod to help you destroy it in a better location? Like there's just, I think it opens up some more game plans potentially with it. And again, it just makes that floor for Phoenix Force enjoyers that much higher.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, so like it definitely does. And like another deck that utilizes Human Torch effectively is going to be like that little mover style deck.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, when you use Spider onto the Human Torch, so you can actually like, you know, you use Spider, they merge, right? And then what you're able to do is move it. So that gets the buff. But then also because Spider was the last card played, if the interactions are consistent as they've always been generally with merging, you should be able to play Ghost Spider and then pull the merged card back towards you, and then you should be able to beast it, right? So like I do like the idea of using Human Torch alongside Spider to generate as much value as you can, because everything is like massive growth with Human Torch. Like even just a single couple extra movements, all of a sudden this Human Torch is out of control, right? And it definitely becomes a win condition at that point.
Yeah, and really the con with Peni, guys, obviously, like she's a 2 creating a 3. Anytime you have a token card creating something, not good towards the end of the game, so you do have that. She's a ramp card anyway. And the way I look at it that way is like, you know, you get a turn 6 Psylocke or Zabu, it feels really bad. I think Peni might be a tad bit better, potentially at least on 5 to 6. But yeah, having that extra energy could be another card too that just wants to work with Magic more, which some of these decks do work with Magic anyway. So yeah, I think the movers are a safe place to start here. And even just like, man, I was looking at cards that want to be, you know, we've talked about these all the time, but cards that want a little bit more power. Now, like Captain Marvel, let's say you don't really care if Captain Marvel gets to move because she's going to move later. But I mean, you know, whatever. You can at least add that extra power to her. Not bad. More specifically, the Symbiote Spider-Man, the Scarlet Spider, those kind of ones. I'm going to save my full conversation for them for Snap's most enjoyable cards. I want to talk about them. I like those cards a lot. But I do think both of those could be decently big winners. In a way, relatively. They're not going to be massive winners, but big enough.
Scarlet Spider has needed something for a long time, and it's kind of dodged getting buffed. And I think that might be because I bet you that Glenn thinks that this is probably stronger than we're giving it credit for. Like on paper, I think that this is actually probably a decent card, because if you think about the effect, it's you do anything to buff this card up effectively, like it's gonna pop off. And like we have Galacta as well that could potentially impact this card. And so yeah, with something as simple as Spider, and with the movement as well, you can then, you know, you can also control where the Scarlet Spider clone is going to end up, because it goes to another location. So if you move it, you can actually send it to a location that maybe like you want. I don't know why you do. I'm just saying technically you can. You have that element of control. But any additional power here on the Scarlet Spider is basically like a double up, right? Anything you merge into Scarlet Spider, it's like you're getting double the effect of it. It just stretches the value a little bit further. So I like this call out a lot, because this has been a card that I think is underwhelmed, but it's probably very close to being relevant.
The thing is, though, and my only issue with this card and how it's going to play out in some of these, again, these are the synergies that we're kind of having fun with. We're like, hey, this could be cool, this could be cool. But because of the cost of how much this Spider costs, and when you want to play it, these kind of bigger cards, you have to be much more careful about. If it was a 2 creating a 2, I'd almost like that better in a lot of areas. The only place that I like it being a 2 into a 3 that, again, don't think is talked about, haven't seen it talked about much, is Wiccan. I mean, this is our first 2 creating a 3, which is insane. I mean, you straight up now have one card that can do 2 rolls, and you can, you know, maybe Quicksilver on 1 and then have a couple 2s. And if Penny's one of those, you have your guaranteed curve line to Wiccan. You're already doing the extra energy with Penny, and so you can really create more of a ramp heavy deck here with Wiccan in that. I think this has some potential for some really unique builds.
Absolutely. Actually, I was working on a deck which is basically Quicksilver 1, and then you have like the Penny on 2 and a Cape Bishop on too as well, right? It's kind of like a backup play type thing. And with that, you're right. Like you get into the Wiccan pretty fast. The only question I've not been able to answer with this deck is like, okay, how do you have, let's say you don't draw into Wiccan, how do you still utilize the +1 power? So if you merge into the Penny, what do you ramp into that makes this deck still propel itself forward, right? Because you do have that extra energy still, despite the fact you didn't draw into Wiccan. Because Wiccan likes to like skip ahead a little bit, right? But Penny Parker can't necessarily do that, obviously, because it gives the +1, not +2. So there are some options here, but I do really like the call out of Wiccan because this has been a card that's been like near the top, but then like people just like, I don't want to play it. But it's been close to being an absolute meta banger, and maybe this is just another piece to the puzzle.
Well, what's cool though, right, is being able to play Wiccan early or any forecast early is, ideal, especially looking at Galactic. I mean, name any of the forecasts that have come out recently. Playing them earlier, the better, right? With Wiccan, another 1-drop, if you're not playing Quicksilver, that I enjoy and I think is going to be having its time. Like it might actually work in all of these kind of Penny Parker decks is Agony, right? You play down Agony turn 1, you play Penny into Agony, that merge happens, you have 4 energy, and then you could play Wiccan next. and then you've got that extra energy ready to go. You have all this energy that you can mess with, so that spider bot you created is that much easier to use. I think that Agony, like, you've got what? Hulkbuster and Symbiote Spider-Man and a couple others. But I think just Agony and Penny is a pretty strong 1-2 merge that can kind of float into a lot of decks. And, I mean, now you've got yourself an option that works. I mean, that package could be lethal.
Yeah, the Agony into the Penny Parker package is much more active. It's faster. Obviously it's a turn quicker than the other way with Spider. But what's key about this too is like I've been trying to wrestle with the idea of having Agony in these decks, especially with Wiccan, because I'm glad you brought it up because I've been working on one. But it's like, okay, if you have Agony, does that mean you cut Quicksilver, right? And then you rely on the Agony, because if you run Quicksilver, you're denying yourself a draw at the start of the game. If you run just Agony without the Quicksilver, you technically get an additional draw to hopefully draw into your Wiccan, so that you can go Agony, Penny into Wiccan, right? But then you lose, like then you're kind of like hoping that the cards fall right, and you don't necessarily have snap conditions. It's kind of tricky, right? So I'm trying to figure out, like, if you play Agony, do you keep Quicksilver or do you cut Quicksilver? You know what I mean?
Maybe like a world you do like something like, haven't put thought into it, but like Zabu, Human Torch, and Agony, right? So at that point you've got 3 different cards. They all play well. You get Zabu, can get Wiccan to play early. You've got Human Torch that wants to have the merge cards anyway, and then you have Agony, right? Like that's probably the route I would go over Quicksilver. And then into the 2s, you would have, Penny, and then there's plenty of 2s to throw in there that just kind of work with the builds in general. Maybe Hulkbuster. I think at that point you're getting too committed to the merge. Like, I think it's 2 merge cards, one being Penny and then the other one being an additional help, which Agony just curves out better and you have more agency there. So I like that a tad more. But I do think Symbiote Spider-Man is not played enough. I think the experimentation with him has kind of been left alone, where there's more to him and there's more to the kit that can be unlocked that maybe Penny, reawakens him.
It's possible. It really is possible. The only thing is that really, I think that combination works best if you're able to get Zabu out early, because then this card's a 3 cost. You can do some early merger because you can then merge on turn 4 instead of turn 5. The concern with Symbiote Spider-Man, I think, is that it's too slow. I think that like by the time like you get that extra energy, it doesn't have the impact maybe you want. I mean, it still does, but it's definitely slower and you're moving into the end game. But I do think you're right in the sense that like we have not seen much Symbiote Spider-Man, and I wonder if it's because it's just, I don't know. I was expecting to see it more this week too with Galactic and everything, but it still didn't really
activate. I think
crack
just
the shells, right?
It's the same as Scarlet Spider that you mentioned earlier. I don't know if it's because Glenn hasn't said anything about it because they're good, or they just activate and they're tough to solve. Like, because I look at this, I'm like, yeah, we could do this, we could do that, but then I'm like, I'm still just thinking about more basic ideas, and I'm like, all right, I'd probably still rather go back to Agony and play Penny into even like a screen deck, right? Because one thing we're not focusing on is the movement factor, and having that, I mean, making any card able to move is a whole nother conversation that we could have. I mean, you look at, and realistically, it can only be, at maximum a 4 cost and down. That's kind of how it's going to work in the game turns to be able to play effective of the move. But there's a lot of cards in here that obviously giving them the ability to move over one space with added power is massive. You can get to locations. But it's like, see what I mean? I just brought up the Scream deck even. I feel like there's a lot of little decks that this Peni package could work into that need kind of a starting engine and want the extra energy.
I do feel that a lot. And the other thing about it too is that like a card like Symbiote Spider-Man, like for instance, Penny Parker's coming out, so now we're talking about it as being a potential thing that we can build around. It's going to get better over time as new cards are added to the game. Like we just finished having a conversation unironically about Quicksilver. Quicksilver was never buffed, but Wiccan was added to the game, right? So if you keep buffing Symbiote Spider-Man, then eventually there's going to be a card that comes out like, this is a Symbiote Spider-Man card. This is the reason why it exists. And really, as we've seen a million times, you only need one deck for a card to be meta relevant. You need it to work where like once very well, good win rate, good cube rate, and it's there. It's in the meta. Symbiote hasn't found that yet. It could have been Galactus. It was close to being Galactus. It was close. It didn't quite reach it.
Well, now Galacta too just does that job a bit more efficient and easier. And yeah, I mean, look at Namora coming out. She did that to a lot of cards. I mean, Hex Scream made that whole archetype good. Like that is the best part about Snap is there's usually a one key to one engine to get the whole thing going, and that's the conversation today. Can Peni do that with the merge ramp feeling? And you know, listen, we could spit out a couple fun ones, you know, Dawkins and Sebastian Shaw, Miles Morales. Those are some of the other synergies I had, not to take, you know, your spotlight there. Did you have any before we go into just the ramp cards and how they're going to work?
I just like how you managed to fit in Doc in there. You should have at least said Doc and double up.
Had to quickly. Just, yeah. Just
you had to get it in there.
Check. Yeah. Doc and double up, fine as wine. Maybe it'll be good as it ages. Yes, man. Let's talk about, though, Peni, and one specific thing is we're starting to get a lot of ramp cards, dude. Like we, you know, back in the day, it was Wave, it was Electro, and kind of Psylocke, right? Now we've got a whole slew of different options, right? And so for people that like ramp decks and just in general, which it's so funny, man. We used to have such ramp dedicated builds, and now we've kind of gone away from that. It's a bit more like mix a ramp card into a deck and have that kind of work out. Where does Peni fall in all of this? So I wanted to talk about the ramp cards, your opinion on where they stand now, and then just kind of get that conversation started, buddy. Who do you want to start with?
Man, okay. I mean, you want to start somewhere fun. How about Wave?
Yeah.
Wave was largely
Classic.
considered to be one of the absolute best cards in Marvel Snap. It got changed significantly, right, with the way it actually handles the cost structure of cards. So for those that are kind of new to Snap, in the beta and even in the early onset of the release, this card was way better, right? Death Wave was a thing where basically you just like mega slam turn 6 after playing Wave and stuff like that. It was really an awesome card, and it's kind of lost its identity a little bit. It got some play with Galactus, like literally I'm going to put Wolverine down turn 2, Wave turn 3, and then G-Man turn 4, and you don't know which location I'm going to go to. That was basically the play. Yeah. But don't forget the Nebula on turn 1 to bait them into playing that location over and over again, right? But that is really classic. But yeah, she's kind of lost her identity a little bit, which is unfortunate. I think this card's actually kind of interesting, you know?
Do you think it still holds up, though, to the ramp cards today?
No, I don't think it does.
It's just different. Like, it has its one-time move where we have a couple cards like Peni. And you know what? I'll just go into our next one. Hope Summers, right? Like, I think Hope introduced a ramp card that can start doing something kind of that you can interact with and every turn, right? And gives you the agency, you know, with Electro, which we'll talk about next, but Wave and with Hope Summers and Peni, it's a different approach to ramp, and I think that's the new approach. I think that's what's getting played. We've obviously seen that before. Where does Hope Summers lie? Once probably the best card in the game for a little bit. Where is she now in the ramp scheme of things?
It's so weird with Hope Summer, especially since like, you know, Luna came out this week as well. And I've been testing decks and playing a lot of Surfer and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, if you compare the two, like Luna Snow and Hope Summers, it's like Hope Summers has this delayed effect, right? It's a turn later, but it has a higher ceiling. If you're playing something like Kitty Pryde and Jeff, you can pump, and then like now you're going to, ramped energy per turn. With the Luna Snow, you get the effect immediately, and you're able to go with Sarah on turn 4. Which is huge, right? I think that's the gravy. That's what you're looking for, right? So they're different styles. It's like Luna Snow has the higher floor for the immediacy of the effect. Hope Summers has the higher ceiling because you're able to play into it multiple times. So like, I don't know, man. It feels like as good as Hope Summers is, and I know I made fun of you for saying Dawkins, but Is this card? I always say that this card's like the most disrespected card in Snap, but I still think it is to some degree. But has it been power crept? And is the 3/4 a factor? Because every card's coming out at 3/5. Let's be honest. If this comes out today, it's not 3/4, it's 3/5, straight up with the same stats, same line, not same stats, but stats go up, same line, everything. It's just a 3/5 because you know it's going to be right.
Yep. And again, the way that you interact with it has just giving the player more agency. And we kind of saw that with Snap. Like the first cards that came to the game kind of held our hands, right? And then we really started getting to a lot more complex stuff, right? Like, you know, when Zabu came in, there's all this energy reduction, and then Hitmonk. Like, there's a lot of different cards that kind of elevated the thought process behind playing cards. But Electro was that. He was that simple, you know, hey, play it down, you get extra energy, you get one card per turn. I mean, rest in peace, that deck, right? I mean, you could still win with it, you know, but there's just so many... It's just so hard to create that power mass that it used to hold in today's world of Snap with all the tech card options out there and just everything you can do.
It's the amount of inflation. It's power inflation. The inflation's out of control, Cozy. Because if you think about it, you used to be able to play Electro turn 3, right? You play like Vision turn 4, and then you play Doom and Odin. And you're like, what are you going to do, bro? You got nothing. Yeah. We're going to win this game, no problem. And now you do that, and they're like, okay, I'll blob here, and I'll like... They're like, they have so many answers for that. Like, it's not even close. They're like, okay, you do that. I guess I'll like Gore Mystique and smoke you. You know what I mean? It's like, what? That's not enough power. How is Doom Odin not enough power? And it's just not anymore.
What about like a 2-0? So you get yourself
2-0 Electro?
Yeah, so you're getting an extra turn. Because I always think about that, right? Like being able to play down... Let's say the new Doom coming out. Doom 29 is a 4, right? So... being able to have a 2 Electro that has 0 energy, so you're giving up power to then be able to play a 4 early, the 5s, the 6s. I think that could revitalize the card.
Interesting. So Psylocke except with the ongoing effect and power every turn.
Yes, and you can only have the 1. Yeah.
There's probably room for that. I think you're cooking. There's probably room for that in the game. It's going to come out.
They probably won't.
They just stole it.
Yeah, they're going to do it. They're going to just do it for another card probably. Psylocke, man. Psylocke I think is really cool because funny enough, if you actually think about it, she has been nerfed and buffed a lot of times. Like, they kind of have kept her in this, like, this is where we want her. Yeah, snip, snap, as I like to say. Also, in Rivals, good God, this woman just is in my nightmares, man. I don't know what she yells before her ultimate, but I wake up in my sleep of... Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly. I don't know what she says either, but when you said snip, snap, it reminded me of The Office. When Michael's in the apartment, he's arguing with Jan.
Dude, that's the quote. That's the quote. Yeah,
that's the quote? Okay, that's what you were referencing?
You
okay,
have no
good.
idea
I was
what
like,
3 vasectomies
you brought me back in time.
Have on a man. The impact of 3 vasectomies. Also, this lady's thighs just make me uncomfortable, like, for a couple of reasons. Psylocke.
Jan's thighs?
No, maybe, but Psylocke too.
Okay, fair enough. I agree.
Jan. I haven't thought about Jan in a while. So, hold on now. Dude, like that Office episode when Michael broke up with her, but then she had a boob job, and then he just like magically wanted to get back together. That show, may it live on. It could never air today, and I don't care. I love it, and just leave it alone. Don't do sequels. It's a piece of history. I don't know how we ended up at Jan's boob job, but we come back to Psylocke. Where do you think Psylocke lands right now? I think she's, because of the 4s on the rise again, in a great spot.
Oh, Psylocke's great. Psylocke's a great card. It's always been. And it's often been the card where like, hey, you want to play a card on 2 that doesn't actually ruin your game plan and actually might even progress it significantly. A 2/2 Psylocke that lets you play something on, like, a 4 cost on turn 3. That's amazing. It's the reason why, like, actually, it's being huge in the negative decks right now. We're actually seeing a lot of negative Gore still. And Psylocke's massive in that. So yeah, no, Psylocke's a great card. And the last time we saw it got nerfed because of the Lockjaw Air, not Lockjaw Airship. It was Lockjaw Thanos, right? I think that was the last nerf, right? Because it was ramping Professor X out, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was up to 2/3 at one point. Yeah.
Was it Pro X who was ramping out? It was ramping something out. What was it doing? I can't remember now.
It was ramping out. I think it was just the way. It was X. It was 100% Professor X. Yeah. Yeah. Because how fast can you get Professor X?
Oh, no, because it was the Time Stone too, right? There was the Time Stone, there was Psylocke,
you had that
and there was
Psylocke. Yeah, you had multiple things to get X down, and that's why it would work so well. 100%. And she's cheap, works with the stones. 100%. Yeah, Psylocke really good right now. Then we have Peni, we just talked about. Luna will be way quicker on, but where do you does Luna fit well into the ramp? Not anything else in your kit, but just the ramp section.
Yeah. She's a ramp card.
She has her
Yeah,
own.
I think she puts the tag. If she's gonna put on a sticker and say I'm a ramp card, she does.
For sure. Does she have her own niche in it though?
No.
Okay.
I don't think
Yeah,
she
we'll
does.
save it for you, so that's fine. And then we've got Wiccan, who I'm telling you, this was one of those classic lines that we said that we think this card will age better, and it's a fun pick that we'll do. Wiccan to me, like when Wiccan came out, and even now, it's like I didn't feel power creep the way I felt with like Galacta, right? Wiccan is how you do a card right. Like I love these cards that have this con, they have this game within a game, the payback's big, and I think he's feasting, man. I think he's intimidating, kind of like bounce decks. Like I'd rather just play, a Wave or a Hope Summers, but Wiccan does have his spot for sure.
I like Wiccan a lot. He feels like a really powerful but fair card. Like when someone plays Wiccan, I'm like, yeah, you earned it. I'm like, I'm not going to complain about that. When they play like Airsham, I'm like, bro, get out of here. But when they play Wiccan, I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, I feel this. And then if you go into turn 6 on them and you're like, you kind of forget that they have that additional reach.
Yeah.
You're like, you almost forget that they have the extra energy, and you're like, oh man, they hit me with that extra Jeff or whatever. I wasn't expecting that, but I should have known, damn it. But no, I like Wiccan a lot. It's definitely a fair card and a strong one at that.
Yeah, and then of course Airsham, as you listed, our last ramp card. Maybe we're forgetting one, but our last ramp card is you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything, and you get that energy. Do you think Airsham survives?
Well, my friend, one of the topics we're talking about is going to be the villains of Snap. Do you think we're not going to talk about Airsham and the villains of Snap? Look at him. He's giving himself a thumbs down.
He's like, do you think Airsham survives? And then thumb down is the maybe the answer to that. We'll see. We'll see, especially in like draft mode if that comes. I think draft mode, not if it is coming. They've pretty much confirmed it on the roadmap there. But yes, okay. So listen, Airsham may not bring people fun, but what cards do, Alex? This could be a briefer. This could be a briefer subject, but I wanted to bring up, in the sweat and the competitiveness out there. If someone wants to pick up Snap, maybe you've been playing Rivals. I don't know about you guys, but like I was playing with Moon Knight a lot, and I was like, I might go back and watch the Moon Knight series. Like that's what these games do to you, right? And also, maybe you want to come back, play some fun Snap, maybe not try too hard, just have a good time. Alex, in that, what are your most enjoyable fun cards within the game?
Yeah, I got a bunch of them. One that I always go back to no matter what. And I think you're touching on a good thing, by the way. And this is the way I've been approaching Snap lately too. It's like, you know what? I don't want to lose sight of the fact that I love this game. I want to continue playing it in a way that I love the game. I don't want to grind rank 1. I don't care about that. I could not care less. I want to have fun. I want to be informed, and I want to enjoy my time with this game. And that's what we're doing, Cozy. And I think so I really like this topic. Silver Surfer. It's Silver Surfer. That should have been obvious. Like for me, it's like anytime I just want a feel good deck, I go Silver Surfer. And I have like multiple versions of Surfer. I have like classic Surfer where I intentionally don't. I have buff Surfer where I'm playing Okoye and Nakia, like pure cope. Like I don't even care if I win or lose. I just want to play my version. I like it, man. Silver Surfer, sense. I feel like there's so many flavors of it,
See, because I was going to say, a Surfer to me, I end up thinking I'm going to have fun, and then I get sweaty because I enjoy how good he is and stuff. But like the buff version and stuff, like the fact that he is, I want more cards like him because what he does is he opens up the deck building potential so high. And like, bro, I don't even care if they were lazy. Give this effect to 4s, 5s, whatever. Like they'd have to figure out the stats and how it works. But I just think it's such a cool effect and the way that the card does work. So, I mean, obviously you couldn't do it with like 5s because I don't know how you're going to get 5s that down. But, I think it's a very unique effect that they could do. Or even if they did it with like power instead of cost, like all 3 power cards could gain +3 power. Like, we have Cerebro, but it on reveal that could do it. Yeah. Anyway, Surfer, good pick. Okay, listen, we're both just going to like our staple homes. I get it. Okay. To me, especially with the next season coming up, Airsham might be a little. Listen, I'm not going to say Airsham is not a fun card for a lot of people. I think it is. But for me, my Airsham is Agent Coulson because I love the spontaneity of like, what am I going to get? How do I make it work? And what do I do with the tools that it gave me? And the fact that they're doubling down on that next season has me so excited because to me, that's like how I enjoy Snap the most, and I'm looking forward to more of it.
Yeah, I play Coulson. It's like, hey, here's Negative and Kang. I'm like, sick, thank you. And then Cozy plays it.
Or it's like so obvious. Like, here's a Mr. Negative, and then they give you like, the best 5 in the game. You're like, okay, all right, thank you, Coulson. Just a punch in the mouth and then a little like pat on the back.
Yeah, no, I actually like it, and again, a good example of an amazing draft card that I couldn't wait to see. Right, I remember you just building it up when Conquest mode first came out. You're like, this is gonna be a good Conquest card, and sure enough, it was. Yeah, it's only gonna get better because I think the hand-sized decks are gonna get some love next month. So I'm actually really looking forward to that. We're gonna get to play some Devil Dinosaur, baby. I can't wait,
God.
Cozy.
Break that relic out. Yeah, go up to the attic and dust that relic off. But I have one more I want to just go right into. For me, and I think you're going to see a common theme, I straight up think the Chaos of Cersei is one of my favorite cards to play with in the game. This is such a fun, build a deck how you want to build it, roll a couple dice, and see what happens. It's just so cool to see the interactions of it. Funny enough, a lot of the RNG stuff I just find fun in the game. It brings that kind of, been playing it for 2 years every day. I know what's going to happen in these games. I know what the opponent's going to do. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do by turn 6. But Cersei, it just takes all that away. And that's what I love about it.
I like that call out because I think that a lot of people, they kind of poo-poo on RNG often in card games. But if I think back to some of the biggest moments that I've experienced playing Marvel Snap, in tournaments and other stuff, it's always come down to RNG. Like Danger Room RNG. I remember I got knocked out of a Conquerors because I had the game won if Danger Room did not 25% me. I was going to beat Dara. I played it. Danger Room. The board flipped. Won. Boom. Snipe. Oh, yeah. RNG. Disaster. I'm like, no. And he eliminated me from Conquer.
I remember spectating that game, actually, funny enough.
Yeah, that's right. You were commentating, you and Dex, right? So those moments, those RNG moments are so awesome. And so Cersei leans into that a lot. And so those high roll moments, those low roll moments, that's what emotion's made of, man. Because there's moments where you play the card, people hold their breath. You hold your breath. What's she gonna get? And that's exciting, right? It's like a loot box in card form.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And you got several, but we're on the subject. So with that is Pixie to me too. I think it's the same thing. It is loot boxes here because you play around 2 and you're like, let's just see what happens. Let's just see if I get that 1-cost Doctor Doom or if I get that 5-cost Zabu. I just think it's such a unique thing in the game. And I quite honestly think Pixie's not played enough. I think that her ceiling is good. It's really solid. And yeah, you got to build the deck a specific way and you're not going to win all your games. But I find her way more consistent than something like Negative because it has statistically, it feels like a much better chance for the pop-off. And you're not waiting for this card to this card to this card. And you listen, man, if you've played Snap more than a couple months, Negative and a Jane, you're out of there. Pixie, your opponent's like, I think I'll stay, and they just don't know. So Pixie's towards, I
always stay on Pixie.
Always stay, buddy. Always. But yeah, those are some of the tops for me.
Yeah, I got a couple here. I would say Kitty Pryde for me. I really like Kitty Pryde's gameplay. If I could go back in time, when I was watching your video, and I saw myself in the Kitty Pryde thing, I was like, oh my gosh, I remember that. I can't believe you found that footage. That was like found footage to me. I was playing the OG Kitty Pryde, pulling her off the table. Those were the days, man. Those are the days, those 24 hours.
I'm so glad that video ended up doing well because that video sourcing wise, I just talked about some of my process at the beginning of the Snapchat, to go back and find leader footage of leader and to go back and try to find, it was so fun to try to find that footage and go back and just relive it. I think a year from now, if Snap is, where it is now and it's not going upwards, I'm going to do a lot of those kind of videos looking back because I think they're fun. I think they're really fun to relive some of the nostalgia, but also the look back at the chaos and what you missed or what you went through. But yeah, I like Kitty Pryde. Good pick.
Yeah, the last one I'll end with the ones that I really like is I like Cyclops and She-Hulk. Like that whole deck archetype. I like Cyclops pew-pewing. I like skipping. I like doubling up She-Hulk. I like that high Evo, Sunspot, energy float type thing. I'm really looking forward to high Evo making a comeback, and I do think it will. I think Luna Snow's actually very good in high Evo. I also think that Bruce Banner's going to be obviously very good in high Evo as well. And so I think that deck might have a bit of a resurgence, and I'm excited for it because I actually really like Cyclops.
Yeah.
I just like the pew-pews. What can I say?
Dude, just looking at this makes me want Cyclops and Rivals so badly. So badly. Oh, man. Look how cool that is. But yeah, Cyclops definitely... There's something about She-Hulk that it just hits me right in the nostalgia, too. One of the first cards I got when they rolled out that whole series pack, which, again, I wish they would do something like that again. Just like the rush of everybody having something a little bit different. One that I'll add is a lot newer. Kind of mentioned her last week, bro. I did already say Symbiote, Spider-Man, and Scarlet Spider. Because those are just fun, the ways they work. I think Frigga is really cool. Like, very interesting, very different gameplay, and like looking at my hand and looking at what I could do. Do I wait? Do I do it now? Maybe I draw something that could be a little bit better. I love her. I think she'd be too good at a 2 cost, but I think 2 would infinitely make her so much more compelling to play. But I just find her extremely fun to play.
Yeah, Frigg is a fun card. Very fun card. And there's going to come a time. There's going to come a time where she's going to be in a top meta shell. I can feel it. We're just not there yet, but there will come a time.
Yeah. And lastly, for me, I'll end on the move cards, man. I Scream, for a reason, play that deck a lot, is because I already liked these styles of cards. And when I can start playing Arrow competitively, especially in Snap, then yeah, I'm going to have a good time. And I just think it's there's a lot of interactiveness with it. And it's just cool to ruin your opponent's game plan and have a little bit over the top power in a lot of the cost slots.
That's fair. I mean, I was expecting you to bring up Arrow eventually. And for that reason, I will also bring up Captain Marvel.
Damn it.
Especially with Galacta, baby. Captain Marvel's back.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah. Well, guys, those are the most fun cards for Alex and I, and we have ourselves a pretty fun one coming out in Peni Parker. I know this was a little weird, guys. Came out early. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode of the Snapchat, and if you guys are looking for some good topics over on Alex's side, we talk about Luna, Galacta, and the villains of Marvel Snap in the Snapchat mailbag. Have a good one. Have a great one. Till the next one. Happy snapping.